Start here. So we're ready to go. Okay. I call the order the 2025 Lower Frederick Reorganization Meeting. Do we usually do the Pledge of Allegiance before?
Yeah.
Okay. Please rise to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so first up is for board appointments. So are there any nominations for chair for 2025?
Turns green.
Mine works.
Hello.
I would like to nominate Noelle Halter for chair.
I'll second.
Are there any nominations? Motion for Noelle Halter by Marla, seconded by Terry Bird. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? What's that?
If Noelle is on, she can vote. Is that you, Noelle?
I'm here, yes.
Is that an aye?
That's an aye.
Okay, since we know Noelle doesn't sound good, are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Marla Hexter.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, okay, those opposed?
I think since, given the situation this evening, if it's okay, I'm going to run this meeting tonight with no objections.
Is that all right, Noelle?
No, none here, that's fine.
Okay, everyone on the roll call is present with the exception of Supervisor Halter, now Chair Halter, congratulations, who is joining virtually. And Peter Nelson is not here yet, but we believe he will be here soon. We had an executive session on December 30th. To discuss litigation and receive legal guidance. All right, next item is delegate for PSATS convention. Is this the voting delegate only? Who is planning to go? And I will be going as well. You're not. No, I was looking at Jason, he raised his hands. I'm happy to be the voting delegate. There's no objection.
Sure. I'd nominate Marla to be the PSATS voting delegate.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Supervisor Byrd made the motion. Supervisor Halter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And that brings us to the consent agenda. I know Peter's not here, but I think if he was, he would probably say.
Marla, we need to do the vacancy board.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that one. Sorry. Vacancy board chair. Our current person filling this position is Reverend Matthew Finney. I nominate him for another year. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Supervisor Hexter made the motion. Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So my understanding for the consent agenda is we can, if we choose, vote for all of them in one
Yes.
vote. Okay. So that would be Township Manager, Assistant Zoning Officer, Secretary Treasurer, Right to Know Officer, Pension Chief Administrator Officer, Jason Wager. Next one is Assistant Treasurer Payroll, Bonnie Yoder, Emergency Management Coordinator, Patrick Roberts, Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator, Police Officer Edward Bacon, Earned Income Tax Collection Agency is Berkheimer Tax Administrators, Town and Planning Commission Solicitor is Grim, Bean, and Thatcher, and that is Peter Nelson Esquire. Township Engineer, Value Engineering, Inc., and that is Carol Schuler. I'll just say PEN, okay. Building Code, Code Enforcement and Zoning Officer, Floodplain Administrator, Barry Isett and Associates, and our representative will be Matt McCloskey. Wastewater Engineer, Hydroterra Professionals, Robert Preston. Township Appointed Auditor, Herbine and Company. Fire Marshal, Tom Gammon IV. Yes? Okay. UCC Appeals Board Member, Joshua Aiken. So if there are any objections to any of those, please let me know. Otherwise, we can vote for all of them in one vote.
No objection.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Chuck Guys will make the motion to
So you're gonna,
basically,
you may have to speak into a microphone.
Chuck Geiser will make the motion to appoint the staff positions as read by our acting chair tonight.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Yarza made the motion. Supervisor Halter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next is the consent agenda for approved depositories and news publication. So the financial institutions, Victory Bank, Univest, Great Western Management, and Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, or Pliget. News publications are the Pottstown Mercury. Again, we can vote on all of those in one vote if it's acceptable to the board.
That's fine.
Yeah. All right, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Halter made the motion. Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Next, this brings us to a consent agenda for board, commission, and committee appointments for Planning Commission, Environmental Advisory Council, Agricultural Security Advisory Committee, Open Space Committee, Park and Recreation Board, Zoning Hearing Board. Do you want to also handle this as a consent agenda or do it individually?
I'm not sure if it matters, but both Supervisor Sachs and myself are on it for nominations for the Agricultural Security Committee. I guess we can vote for ourselves, but just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do them all.
You're not paying yourself, so.
Correct.
Don't, for each one of these, like Planning Commission, we have a reappointment. The rest of them, the terms are not up yet, but for Phil Smith, his term is up. Is that right?
Yes, so all these are reappointments. So far, we've had no volunteer applications for the open positions.
So we should just do them individually is what we've done in the past.
Okay, so for Planning Commission, we have a reappointment for Phil Smith for a term ending 12/31/2028 on Planning Commission.
I'll make the motion to reappoint Phil Smith to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, and I'll make the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. For Environmental Advisory Council, we have two reappointments, John DeMedio and Steve Lineski, with terms ending 12/31/2027. And again, we still have one vacancy on the Environmental Advisory Council. Do I have a motion to reappoint these two individuals?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck Yizel will second.
Supervisor Holter made the motion, Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, for Agricultural Security Committee, so you all have just a one-year term, huh? All right, so they're all up for renewal for terms ending 12/31/2025. Terry Sachs, Terry Bird, Jim Roth, Elizabeth Barrett, and Jeremy Moore. I'll go ahead and make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Supervisor Hexter made the motion. Supervisor Holter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. For Open Space Committee, we have three reappointments: Warren Jacobs, Phil Smith, and Matt Davidson for terms ending 12/31/2027. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, so you'll second?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Holter made the motion. Supervisor Yiser made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is Park and Recreation Board. We have one person up for reappointment, Rebecca Strawbridge, for a term ending 12/31/2029, and we have two vacancies on the Park and Recreation Board. Do I have a motion to reappoint Rebecca Strawbridge? Oh, sorry, and Crystal Jarena? Okay, I apologize, I didn't see that. We have two reappointments.
I'll make the motion to
Thank you.
reappoint.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Supervisor Yiser made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And lastly, Zoning Hearing Board, we have one person for reappointment, Andrew Fike, for a term ending 12/31/2017. Do I have a motion to reappoint him?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. I will second. Supervisor Halter made the motion. Supervisor Hexter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Peter, just to catch you up. No. No. Jason started the meeting in your place, which I assume is okay.
Yes.
And our new chair is Noel Halter,
Okay.
and I am the vice chair.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Noel is not here today, so I'm just running the meeting.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right, that catches you up. All right, next we have the consent agenda for township business, which is the treasurer bond and bill payment. And this is pursuant to Article 7, Article 702 of the Second-Class Township Code. The Board of Supervisors hereby establishes the bond for the treasurer and assistant treasurer in the amount of $1 million. The treasurer is authorized to pay routine bills prior to supervisors' meetings as due and necessary. You came just at the right time, Peter. You came just at the right time. So what are we doing on this? We're just voting to establish the bond? This is Article 5.
Yes, you're just voting to establish the amount of the bond because the bonding is based on the township's budget.
Okay. So do I have a motion to authorize the amount and the payment of the bond?
I recall from last year, we went through all of these and the motions at the end.
Oh, okay.
Make it easier.
Until all the rest of them to the end?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm happy to do that. All right, the next one is employee wages and benefits. All regular full-time employees shall receive regular wage increases and adjustments as approved by the fiscal year 2025 budget adoption at its 12/3/2024 meeting via Resolution 2024-R-17. Employee benefits is outlined in the Information Handbook for Employees and the 2021 to 2025 Police Department contract. Mileage reimbursement shall be in accordance with the IRS standard of 70 cents per mile for 2025. Next item is the 2025 Township Meeting Schedule and Hours of Operation. Unless otherwise advertised or posted, the Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors will meet the first Tuesday of each month for a regular meeting and the fourth Tuesday of the month for a work session, meeting at the Township Building located at 53 Spring Mount Road, Schwenksville, PA 19473, with the following exceptions. May 7 instead of May 6, so that would be the next day on a Wednesday. November 6th instead of November 5th, again, the next day on a Wednesday. December 16th instead of December 23rd. We're meeting a week earlier because of the holiday. All meetings will convene at 7 PM and are open to the public. Please check the township website, www.lowerfrederick.org, and the township Facebook page for meeting cancellations. Unless otherwise posted, the Lower Frederick Township Planning Commission will meet the third Thursday of each month for their regular business meeting. All meetings will convene at the Township Building at 7 PM and are open to the public. Unless otherwise posted, the Lower Frederick Township Environmental Advisory Council will meet the second Monday of each month, with the following exception: January 14 instead of January 13. All meetings will convene at the Township Building at 7 PM and are open to the public. Unless otherwise posted, the Lower Frederick Township Park and Recreation Board will meet the first Monday of each month for their regular business meeting, with the following exception: January 13 instead of January 6th, because we are meeting January 6th and they have to meet after us. All meetings will convene at the Township Building at 7 PM and are open to the public. Unless otherwise posted, the Lower Frederick Township Open Space Committee will meet the second Wednesday of each month for their regular business meeting. All meetings will convene at the Township Building at 7 PM and are open to the public. The Lower Frederick Township Zoning Hearing Board will convene on the second and fourth Monday of each month as needed. All hearings will be scheduled and advertised in compliance with state law. The Agricultural Security Committee will convene as needed. The Township Administrative Offices will open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. daily, Monday through Friday, unless posted otherwise, with the exception of holidays referenced in Resolution 2024-R-19 as approved township observed holidays. Special appointments can be made as needed. The Public Works Department regular hours shall be 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, with the exception of the holidays referenced in Resolution 2024-R-19. All right. So we're looking for a consent agenda for, this is called Township Business. Do I have a motion?
Chuck Geisel will make the motion to accept the township business as read by our acting chair tonight.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Yarza made the motion. Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And the last item is the township fee schedule, which is Resolution 2024-R-2.
I would like the board to table that for the January 28th meeting, as I'm still updating that with our new code enforcement zoning officer fees.
Okay. What was Resolution 2024-R-1?
That would be the reorganization resolution.
2025 R.
2025-R-1. Ah, got it. Okay.
Whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. That concludes our reorganization meeting. Anyone would like to take a break? We could take a short break. Otherwise, we'll move right into our general meeting. Yep. Okay. All right. Administrative actions, meeting minutes. I thought we have the October general meeting minutes, or do we already approve those?
Those were approved at the last meeting.
Gotcha, okay. All right, so we have one set of minutes to approve for October 22nd, 2024. Any further comments on those, or are we ready to approve? Okay, do I have a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck Geiser will second.
Supervisor Byrd made the motion. Supervisor Yarza made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so this is through the end of the year, December 31st, 2024. Total general fund revenue, we finished the year at $2.564 million. $152,000 over budget. This increased by 8.4% from last year. Total expenses 2.617, which is $224,000 under budget, increased by 12.5% from last year. General fund, net income, a deficit of 53,418. We had a deficit of 53,418, but was significantly better than the budgeted deficit of negative 430,104, which was an improvement of 376,000. Revenues surpassed budget expectations by 6.3%, driven by higher than anticipated interest, real estate transfer, and EIT revenue. Expenses controlled effectively, spending 92.1% of our total budget. Savings were achieved in wages, health insurance, and operational costs, while expenditures increased in areas like building and vehicle repairs. The general capital fund, we had a net income of $160,686. The investments or purchases for 2024 were police vehicles, public works truck, and IT infrastructure upgrades, including iCloud migration. The sewer fund revenue exceeded budget by 32.1%, helped by new connections from the former Riverside Extension and prepayment of tapping fees for the Farmview subdivision. Expenses were slightly over budget at 8.2%, but savings in repair-related areas offset overages in sledge hauling and chemicals. Net income was $182,000, reflecting a $282,000 improvement over budget expectations. The sewer capital fund, we ended with a net income of $17,405. Projects completed in 2024 was the former Riverside Sewer Extension and the flood barrier installation at the sewer plant. The decision of the board during the 2025 budget cycle to transfer 50% of the tapping fees will enhance future capital financing, and this transfer will occur in 2025. Liquid Fuels Fund, the net income was negative $49,000, but which was $177,000 better than we budgeted. Activity was limited to the 2024 oil and chip project, truck repayment, and sole purchasing. The Zieglerville Road repair project was not done and created a disparity. Open Space Fund, net income was $112,000 with available funds of $274,000. Expenses were minimal with major preservation costs deferred to 2025. Overall, we're well prepared for future land preservation efforts. The ARPA COVID Relief Fund, expenses were $207,850, which was allocated for critical infrastructure repairs and building enhancements. Revenue was minimal at $15,920 with a total of $45,264 in interest transferred to the general fund, as it was not necessary for us to utilize that interest towards ARPA COVID relief projects. As far as the projects, we completed significant stormwater, culvert, and road repairs, along with building upgrades. Overall, the funds utilized effectively to address urgent needs with remaining allocations planned for the 2025 projects. So all money is accounted for. Key insights across all funds, revenue often exceeded budget projections, reflecting our growing tax base, increased usage of the sewer plant. Conservative spending helped create a surplus and minimize the deficits in most funds. Capital expenditures were aligned with our community needs and some of our long-term goals. Reallocating the tap-in fees highlights the board's proactive fiscal planning started with the creation of the CIP plan for the general and sewer funds in 2024. Any questions?
So basically what you're saying in your report is we went into 2024 thinking that we had a deficit of 430,000.
For the
And
general fund,
right
yes.
now it looks like the deficit is like 53,000.
Yes.
Much better than our federal government. They can't even come up with a budget.
If there are no questions from the board on this report, we can move on to the payment of bills. Are there any bills here we need to take out?
No.
Okay, so we have bills to pay for the general fund in the amount of $84,254.84, sewer fund in the amount of $135,653.39, and ARPA COVID relief for the amount of $27,038.52. Someone like to make a motion to approve and pay these bills?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Sachs made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Professional staff reports, engineer.
Thank you. So the first item on my report is the chip seal, which appears later on this agenda. Under information, I'm sharing with the board the Prestige Builders or Farmview Estates installation of sewer pipe in Little Road continues, and construction of new homes near the Northern Development entrance is also underway. At Melbourne Hill, there has been very little activity at this site over the past month. The builder has enhanced temporary stabilization of denuded areas in response to our requests. There were blasting notices sent out for the project. However, when we reviewed them, we found them deficient. We understand another round of notices was issued in recent days. The Springmount Road sidewalk project took a little leap forward. Tree removals were undertaken in the month of December, which supports relocation of utility poles as necessary for the sidewalk project. However, the bulk of project work is likely to be undertaken in March and April of 2025. And the Yerger Road or Bohannon Minor subdivision, that plan for lot line change was approved by this Board of Supervisors in December, and we're awaiting the applicant's submission of a plan revised to address the conditions of approval. The other items on my report remain unchanged since our last review of those items, and if that satisfies the board, I will halt my report there.
I do have a quick question. I'm sorry. 46 Kratz Road was not on your report, and they were required to connect downspouts from their garage and remove impervious surfaces. Have they done that, or has there just been not any activity with that?
No activity with that.
Okay. And just to point out that with the blasting at Melbourne, per the developers agreement, they have advertised 2 times within 10 days of each other. I'm just wondering if they have their recorded plans with their clear title and casualty insurance, and that would be a question for Peter.
Yes, as to the insurance, if the plan is not recorded, it's in the process of being recorded. I believe it's recorded.
Okay, so we should probably get confirmation because they can't actually do any blasting until that's done.
Yeah, we're handling the recording, so it's not on the developer. My office is doing that. So I just don't know where we are with the holidays. I got to check.
Okay, great. And then, of course, the clear title. So you'll give a follow-up. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, solicitor report.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
All right. Township staff reports, police.
Thank you. For the month of December, the police department had 283 calls. We conducted 13 traffic stops. 10 of those stops resulted in citations being issued. For the year, the police department handled 3,803 calls. We issued 267 traffic citations. We conducted 440 traffic stops, 250 traffic enforcement details, and we responded to 50 motor vehicle crashes.
I'm just curious, that sounds like a lot of crashes. Is that a lot for the month?
Well, that's for the year.
That's for the year?
That's a snapshot of the year.
Are there certain situations or certain areas that you've noticed more problems than others?
There's not one specific. A lot of it is driver error, following too close, not paying attention, distracted driving would be the leading causes of those crashes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the police? Okay, fire company.
I don't think we have anybody here tonight. And I don't have their breakdown, but they had, for the month of December, they had 21 total calls.
In Lower Frederick.
I don't have the breakdown like they normally do between Lower Frederick and what the calls were and, support.
Okay, thank you. Ambulance?
Okay, so for the month of November, they had 22 total in Lower Frederick. At the time, 214 total year to date. In their primary coverage for November, they had 59. At the time, 707 year to date total. Mutual aid, they did 35 in November. At the time, 524 total year to date. As of the end of the year, or for December, they had 19 total in Lower Frederick and 233 overall for the month or for the year 2024 in Lower Frederick. Their primary coverage area, which is Limerick, Perkiomen, Schwenksville, Upper Frederick, and Upper Salford, they had 77 in December and a total of 784 calls in 2024. And then their mutual aid, which is outside their primary coverage area, they had 42 in December and a total of 566 for the year.
Thank you. Public Works?
7, that's the number of calls in Lower Frederick for the fire company. So now it's 21.
Did you say 7?
There are 21 calls, total 7 of them were in Lower Frederick. I'm just counting, you could look at the codes.
Okay, so 7 of the fire company calls were in Lower Frederick.
Yep.
Thank you. Public Works?
So for Public Works, they did 4 sump pump sewer inspections for UNOs in December. They had 2 salt events. They greased and changed the blower filters for the sewer plant. They continued the PD renovation. They trimmed the new building doors, painted the vestibule, installed flooring in the vestibule. Cleaned the building at the sewer plant. Cleaned and greased trunks after the salt events, and then Tommy started work on getting the quotes for the third-party mowing.
Any questions about Public Works? I just want to thank them, as usual, for doing a great job with the snow event. I was out shoveling. I saw them pass by my house twice, so thank you.
Does that mean my key doesn't work anymore?
Correct. I'll have to get you, we have a bag of keys at the front. I'll have to get you, Chuck. If there wasn't one in your stack of stuff.
I didn't notice one. That's fine.
Okay.
All right, Township Board and Commission reports, Environmental Advisory Council. Is that you, Diane?
Yep, I'm here. So in our December meeting, we discussed having sent to Township Manager Jason our written recommendations for revisions to the weed portion of the property maintenance code. I'm hoping the board will get a chance to look at that before that comes up in the new year. The Lighting Committee reported on light bulbs that now have motion detectors within the actual bulb and do not need any other special apparatus. They appear to be reasonably priced. I believe Chief Cass had referred to this innovation last month, so we followed that up. And indeed, they exist, and it's pretty cool. Because they're for both outside and inside. So if you have a closet that you forget to turn the light off in, you can put a motion detector bulb in it. And when you step in, it'll turn on. And when you close the door and there's no more movement, it'll turn off. So it should save you on your electric bill. And then we discussed the creation of a new resource that is now available to residents called the Lower Frederick Wilds. You can find it on the Lower Frederick homepage header. It will be a resource and repository of pictures and information about the growing number of native plants being grown in our township. which is important to clean water and air, stormwater runoff mitigation, and people pollinator and wildlife health. You're encouraged to find inspiration there and share your own native yards, gardens, meadows, woods, rain gardens, etc. And this website was created in cooperation with the Skills, and a shout out to the Township Administrative Assistant Becky Strawbridge and other key members of the EAC. So please send your pictures in of your lovely native gardens. And that's all I have for you. Any questions?
No, did you know this month?
No, I neglected to put that down, but we do have one. So I will send it to Jason as I look it up, and he can read it off if he gets a chance. Thank you for the reminder.
Open Space Committee?
Good evening. The Open Space Committee met on December 11th. I don't have a ton to report from that meeting. It was pretty quick. The main point of discussion during the public portion of the meeting was reviewing that the Board of Supervisors had reviewed the outreach letters that the Open Space Committee had composed to be sent out to better educate residents on the committee and its activities. We discussed that we had received comments regarding those letters and will be looking to review those comments more thoroughly and make revisions to the letters at our next meeting, which will be this Wednesday, January 8th. And we also took into consideration a recommendation to look at some of the outreach materials prepared by other township open space committees. So we're going to just make some revisions to those materials that we put together and consult some other materials that are out there. Other than that, we're still waiting on, as Jason alluded to in the treasurer's report, expenditures for some pending preservation agreements that we have entered into, but haven't had funds allocated for. So we're hoping that that'll take place in the early portion of this year. Other than that, nothing specific to report. I can try to answer any questions anyone has, but that's it for me otherwise.
Any questions? Thank you. Park and Recreation Board?
Yes, the Park Board has not met since our November meeting. As Marla mentioned, our first 2025 meeting will be on next Monday, January 13th, and that will include our reorganization. The Park Board has been busy planning an active season of events for the next year. If you would like to help us in the fun, and if you know someone who might want to, we have 2 openings on the board, and getting involved at the start of the year now is a good time to join. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions for Park and Recreation? Planning Commission?
The Planning Commission met on December the 19th. Rather short meeting, but meaningful. The most significant topic which we spent time with was the Zieglerville planning discussion. The Planning Commission is very fortunate that we have a professional planner that's a member of our committee, so she has been designated to work with our community planner, John Mikulos, to develop concept maps for the Zieglerville Village, in which the Planning Commission can more or less brainstorm and come up with ideas for how we'd like to see the progression of Zieglerville into the future. So we discussed a number of topics, took a look at the maps that John and Crystal Gilchrist had come up with, and we've determined a couple of things that we'd like to try to focus on for improving the village and making it possible to be proactive rather than reactive into the future with the issues that develop in the Zieglerville Village. The Zieglerville Village is a village mixed-use community or zone, and we'd like to see it to be a little bit more inclusive of some affordable and residential housing, not to diminish its, potential for commercial, but at the same time, provide for some residential infill in areas that we think are appropriate. We also recognize that the Zieglerville Village future really depends a lot on how the road system evolves. And one of the things that we think is very deficient in Zieglerville is a secondary means of getting beyond the roundabout. Now, the roundabout's been very successful. I think everybody would attest to that. But at the same time, we recognize that the whole area, not just Lower Frederick, but the whole area is growing at such a rate that we're going to face the possibility that capacity that's there at the roundabout is going to be exceeded into the future. So we're looking for the possibility of putting a plan out for the potential of a secondary road system that would sort of relieve some of the pressure on the roundabout. And of course, we are also looking for other issues that are associated with the village development, such as historic preservation, public sidewalking, et cetera. So all said, we're actively working on it. We're going to look to the coming months as, extending this conversation and planning discussion. So again, an invitation to the public as well as the board to, come out to the meetings and give us your input as you would like to express it. The last item which we dealt with at the meeting was that of a kind of a wrap up of the, well, I don't want to call it failed, but the unsuccessful attempt to try to get a grant for the sidewalking at the Delphi Village area. We recognized that, that just wouldn't happen for next year. The finances and, other associated issues have made that not likely to happen, but we did want to try to take the recommendations that the board had given at its December the 3rd meeting and, have everybody understand where we stand and what we need to look at if we want to be able to do other infrastructure projects. I guess the most noteworthy of those was the idea that, that we should look to other areas in the community for connections as well as the Delphi area, but also to make sure that when we do undertake a proposal such as that, and again, those type of projects are costly, but we were looking to use a grant to augment some of that, but to make sure that if we enter into a proposal or want to undertake a proposal, that we kind of work in coordination with some of the objectives of the county that might be influential or, might stymie a project like that, should it go forward, only to find that the county doesn't really have much support for us. So those two recommendations from the board were well received, and we appreciate your input. And that concluded our December meeting, other than Greg Pocus led us in a couple of Christmas songs before we end. No, just kidding. But that was the extent of our meeting. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the Planning Commission? Go ahead. If you can come to the microphone. Yeah, come to the microphone and just state your name and address.
Faith Opielski, 15 Big Road. How do I become a volunteer on your group, sir?
Well, you're welcome to attend any of our meetings as a public member, and you can also put a resume into the township, I think through Jason, if you're interested in joining the board, if we have a vacancy become available.
Cool, thank you.
So if you go to the website, on the front page of our website, there's what's it called, volunteer application? It's called volunteer application, and we have a number of volunteer opportunities, so you can just fill that out or just attend any of the meetings you want. All of our meetings are open to the public.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the business portion of our meeting. First item is authorization to advertise 2025 Oil and Chip Road Project. We discussed it at our last meeting. Carol.
Thank you. As you said, you discussed this at your last meeting. We talked about the roads to be sealed. We had about 4.5 miles of road. And since that meeting, we prepared the bid for equipment and labor to chip seal those roads. And before the board tonight is a motion to authorize advertisement of that bid. If so authorized, then the bids would be opened on January 28th and award considered at the February meeting. Chip seal actually happens in May or later. But by going in early, we get early on their schedule.
And usually cheaper,
Better prices early.
better
in the year.
prices.
Yes, thank you.
Any members of the board have any questions? Or are we ready to vote on this?
So it's my understanding that all the roads that we've got here, we feel that they're in good enough shape to receive the chip seal and don't need any work before we do that, right?
Should there be any advanced base repairs necessary, the Public Works is aligned to address that in advance of chip seal.
Anyone else? Nope. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Okay, at last meeting, I asked you guys if you were going to put this out, if you would do a consideration as maybe only doing half of the 4.5 miles and look at using some of that money for other repairs that need to be done. Chuck, I appreciate that question you just asked and Carol's comment. Gerloff Road, which is the heaviest traveled road in the roads that you're going to be doing, definitely has a lot of base repairs that need to be done from Yerger Road at the four-way intersection going down the hill towards the Iron Bridge. I didn't notice too much others. I didn't get to drive all the roads, but I would say the other roads that I did drive, such as the one behind the school and Kraus Road, some of those areas have drainage issues where might need some swale work or whatever. So if we're going to be doing anything, it'd be better to do any kind of swale or drainage projects prior to putting the tar and chip down, because otherwise we're going to come back and work on top of it or on, alongside of it or whatever. It's going to get destroyed. So I think the biggest thing that the board needs to look at is right now you have the engineer and our road superintendent bringing this to you guys, and the roads that you have on there, I mean, Woodside was just paved 2.5 years ago. Does not need to have anything done to it. It can wait a while. The rest of the roads, as I said, they're all low volume roads except Gerloff. We need to be doing repairs on other roads. One of the main ones I think is going to end up having a big problem after this winter is going to be Main Street. So if we allocate money towards Main Street from the tar and chip project, then we're not going to run into a surprise like we had on Zieglerville, where all of a sudden we have, $500,000 worth of work over a 2-year period of time, and it gets into prevailing wage. So we need to use the money wisely. You guys have to approve it. The 5 of you are taking care of it, not, Tommy and Carol and the manager and putting that stuff together. You guys have to understand what's being happening there. And, we elected you guys to do that job. And that's what we need. We need you guys to look at those roads. If you haven't looked at them, I would suggest looking at them. Obviously, you can put it out to bid. We're not under any obligation. If you guys decide later on, or you want to look at it after the spring and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we do need to do some things differently. So we're not under any obligation to move forward with the bids. Right now, we're just putting it out and we're getting that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to authorize advertising for the 2025 Oil and Chip Road project?
Chuck Yiza will make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I will second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next item is a request from 15 Big Road for a school bus sign.
Yes, we received a request in December regarding a school bus sign, school bus stop ahead sign near 15 Big Road. I don't see PennDOT saying no unless it doesn't meet their criteria, we would be responsible to install and pay for the sign, which is why it's in front of you, in front of the board. We have done this in recent years on Zieglerville Road, Southford Station Road, and most recently on North Gravel Pike. And then we did get another email from this resident, who is present if you have questions, that she sent that another car went past the bus again while the bus was stopped with the school stop sign out and lights on. So this might be something we might want to also involve chief as far as some enforcement, I think.
Is that you, ma'am? Would you like to speak to this?
Should I say my name and my address again?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
sure. I'm Faith Opielski, 15 Big Road. I have a first grader who gets on, although the school, she's not crossing the street, we see people come over the hill, and in the month of December, in 1 week, there have been 2 cars that went through the stop sign. When the stop sign is out, we've seen the bus driver try to honk and yell at people like, please stop, and people still go through the stop sign. It's become quite regular each day. We're like, it's kind of like comical to say, like, wait, are they gonna stop? We don't know. Are they gonna stop? And you just see cars slam their brakes on all the time. Or go through the stop sign when the bus has the stop sign out.
Chief, do you have anything to add to this that might be helpful?
We'll absolutely put a car out there. Try to at least put a dead in it. Have you reached out to any of the officers of the department about this?
No, I just went as far as requesting the, like, school bus stop sign ahead.
Okay. We'll get a car out there.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief,
Yes.
do you know if there's ever been any discussion of using a service like Bus Patrol? The camera service between the school district and the police department?
I know throughout the year when they run the Operation Safe Stop, we participate in that every year, where we're following the bus stops or the buses as soon as they get into the township. I know
Yeah.
we've been successful with that, but the program that you're speaking about, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, it's a third party, I dealt with in a couple other townships. It's an agreement between the school district and all the police departments within the school district. There's a third party company that supplies cameras and puts it on all the buses. Someone runs past, the camera records it. It is run by the appropriate police department. They say it's a good violation. A ticket's sent out to that particular violator, and it seems to work very well in places where it's
Absolutely. If you
used.
want to forward me the information,
Yeah.
I'll take the steps to reach out to it.
Okay.
Do the school buses actually have cameras on them now? Do they have that third-party camera system? I know that with the school district I drive for, they have them.
I'm not familiar, Noel, if PV has any of the cameras on the buses.
That's actually where you probably need to start to see if they actually have the cameras on there.
Yeah, I think this is a camera system that's run, Noel, by this company.
Right.
I think they're proprietary cameras that the company uses. And I know buses have a lot of cameras on them these days for a variety of reasons, but I don't think they can be used for this unless they're this sort of specialized camera.
Yeah, the ones that we have the interior cameras, obviously. And then the exterior one is when the stop sign comes out, there's a camera on the side of the bus that if somebody runs the stop sign, they automatically get ticketed. It goes to the local police department and they get ticketed.
Okay, that's the sort of system I am talking about, but
Yeah.
I think that Chief Cass, you haven't seen or heard anything like that?
I know some of the bigger school districts have, but as the operation, I'm not familiar with it, but
Okay.
I'll do the homework on it.
Sorry, can I ask, what is the follow-up for what happens next?
Well, the immediate follow-up is we're going to discuss and potentially vote on installing the sign, and our police department is going to follow up at that location to provide some coverage to hopefully.
Do you have a driveway?
Shared driveway. Shared driveway with 17, but you can come sit. You can come
Well,
sit
that was my next question was gonna be, if we can use your driveway, we can put a car there,
Sure,
right in front of your house, and
got
then
it. You can sit.
And
take the appropriate.
what's the best time?
The morning bus is 7:58 a.m., well, 7:56 a.m. The afternoon bus comes at 3:28 a.m., p.m., sorry. Sorry.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. No, sorry, can you, if you have a comment, do you want to come to the microphone?
Hi, Crystal from Fulmer. I was just wondering, is it oncoming traffic or are they going around the bus? Oncoming.
Up the hill, like speeding, and then they don't stop at the bus.
So it'd probably be better if you park across the street where the business is.
No, I want you hidden so they don't see them. Sorry.
Won't be able to catch them if they're in your driveway.
I'll split the difference with both of you, and we'll put a marked and unmarked in the area.
And thank you for coming to the meeting and reaching out to our manager, because we do try very hard to provide whatever service you need, especially when it's a safety issue.
So is this a lead up to considering putting a sign? I'm just trying to understand what's happening here.
So because we would be responsible, if PennDOT approves us installing the sign, we would be responsible for the installation. They mark it and we would do the installation. So the cost is on us, which is, once again, that's why I put it in front of the board, since it's kind of not our normal business. So if you guys wouldn't, if you authorize it, then we will take it to PennDOT and go through that process along with what we're doing elsewhere with the police department stuff.
This would be a sign that people heading eastbound on 73 would see, right?
Yes,
Am I correct in understanding it?
Yeah.
towards the circle.
Yeah.
Right, the people are coming from the west going toward the circle that are the ones who are running past the bus. So are we discussing that, or I heard the chief is gonna put somebody out there, or are we doing both? Maybe I'm a little bit in left field here.
Well, we'll have officers out there.
Right.
Because if it's happening on Big Road, I'm sure there's other areas that it's happening as well.
In the meantime, do we want to put a sign there, or are we talking about sending the police first and then considering a sign? I guess what I'm trying to understand. It seemed like we were moving on from this topic, and I wasn't sure where we were.
Honestly, it's up to the board, Chuck.
What does a sign cost? It's like a couple $100?
My guess, sign and pole, I would think $150 to $200. It's,
Yeah, I mean, I recall us having this discussion in the recent past. We've done this in other areas where there's an issue. I mean, the police can come and go, but the school bus is there every day, so I don't have any issue with the sign.
I'd be happy to make a motion to get the ball rolling on the sign.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Yiser and a second by Supervisor Halter to approve the installation of a sign in the vicinity of 15 Big Road. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So this is not going to happen tomorrow because we have to go through PennDOT. Jason, how long does that usually take?
that's, depends on PennDOT, but we've had good recent contact with them, so I can get Becky on this sooner than later.
And it sounds like the police will be out there sooner than the sign. You're
We'll be
very
out there
welcome.
tomorrow morning.
That's very soon. Okay. All right. Next item is a grinder pump O&M agreement for 209 Fulmer Road.
This is just a standard agreement prepared by Peter. This agreement is necessary for the applicant to cover not stormwater, that'd be grinder pump operation and maintenance associated with the project on that property. And the agreement has been signed by the applicants.
Any discussion from the board on this? No? Would someone like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Halter, a second by Supervisor Byrd to approve the grinder pump O&M agreement for 209 Fulmer Road and further authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, that brings us to the next item, which is a request about a Township Emergency Management Coordinator stipend. You gonna take that, Jason? He's gonna take that.
So Pat Roberts has requested to either donate or not be paid for his position as Township Emergency Management Coordinator. This is 2,000 plus another 225 in payroll taxes. And what he's asking the board to consider is that this monies be used to purchase items for emergency management, which I've provided the list. I did chat with Peter, so Peter can weigh in on if the board's interested on how we might go about doing this. And I would only ask that while I gave you his full list, this would be something I'd be asking the board for me to manage on your behalf, as opposed to, I do, you know, there's a few items I might question.
If the board is interested in doing this, what the proper way would be just to have him make a request saying, basically, I do not wish to be paid for this, and I hope that the township would use the money saved for not paying me towards other emergency service costs. We really can't, we can't have him being paid and then you know, him donating that money. I think that's a little, I guess it would work tax-wise, but it just seems a little silly. And we don't want him directing where we use this money, because the IRS will then look at it as it's his money and he's, you know, he needs to pay taxes on it. So that would be my only kind of caveat here, is just to get a request from him saying not to be paid, and then not directing us saying this is where I want the money spent, but making recommendations.
So what you're saying is the first step is for him to make that specific request, and then we can consider it at another meeting.
Yes. And as far as budget-wise, I would consider the amount. It's relatively inconsequential. Like, I wouldn't expect we would need to do any adjustments to the budget. Most of those purchases, whether it's a computer, whatever, you guys would be blessing. I would have the board bless whatever we might purchase, if that's the direction the board goes, before, you know, prior to anything actually happen anyway. So you guys will get another crack at it.
Any discussion from the board?
Just a question for Peter. Is this emergency management coordinator position something that's established in state statute as a township position, or that has to be?
There is a state statute regarding emergency management that provides for this. However, to be honest, I don't know of any other township that I represent that actually pays for this position.
Okay. Yeah, because I know at one point, I think early on when I looked at not taking a salary, I was told, well, no, you need to take a salary, pay the taxes, and you can donate what's left back to the township if you want to. So, but that's because right, okay.
Yeah, well, that's something, I think the analogous situation here would be if the board voted, none of us are going to take a salary. That's kind of, you know, that's sort of what's happening here.
So is it acceptable to the board to table this until we get further information from
Yes.
Pat? And who will communicate with them, Peter or Jason?
I'll communicate, and if I need any, you know, obviously I'll talk to Peter, but I've got it pretty clear what Pat needs to do to get the ball rolling.
Okay, and so we may see this on our work session?
I would agree, yes, because Pat's been kind of anxious for this to happen, so I would expect a quick reply from him.
Okay, great. All right, that brings us to the last item on our business, which is the 2024 year in review.
Okay, so I wanted to do something a little different that we haven't, well, maybe we've done in the past, but we hadn't done since I was here, and just kind of go through some of the things that has been accomplished or started or that's happened in the year 2024. Some of this stuff is related through finances, which we hear about, but there's a lot of things that happen that's not financially related. So I thought I would go through a list of kind of what happened in 2024 in Lower Frederick, from, as you know, kind of from the township's perspective, if that's okay. I can read or post.
Well, what would the board like, the highlights or the whole thing?
Highlights would be nice.
So you have them in different sections, so
Yeah.
maybe the highlights. And this will be posted on our website, but yeah, this is great. A lot happened last year.
Okay, so I will try to highlight the sections, because as Marla, I did break these down in kind of areas. So as we started out the year with an awards presentation for Police Officer Ed Bacon and Police Investigator John Salamone for a life-saving event in November of 2023. We also had the second annual Travis Ryder Blood Drive that was held here in the township in August. Operations enhancement, we did finally migrate to Office 365, and we've moved our server to the cloud, which has been it's made working remotely more efficient, and I think overall it's been working very well. As those who've walked through the township building, we finally got the administrative front door assembly replaced, which should be a little different experience opening the doors now. One of the things that we did catch up on is we now are posting our monthly treasurer, engineer, fire company, public works, and police reports online for residents to view at a later time. Finance grants, we did apply for several grants last year. They included a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation DCD grant for the Coble Park Rehabilitation Phase 1. That was done primarily by our Park and Rec Board. I just basically signed off on it. We did apply for a PICO grant for the Cuddy Dog Park Stormwater Project. Obviously, a highlight is the adoption of our 2025 fiscal year budget. We applied for a DCD grant for a police vehicle purchase through Senator Pennycook's office. We also applied for two local or LSA or local sharing account grants for the police department and township building. We did open several new CDs for multiple funds while closing some of the lower interest CDs. And we did have conducted a capital improvement plan presentation to help better explain that program that was approved for 2024 and beyond by the board. Zoning planning, the Goshen-Hoppin Watershed Special Study was approved. The Mang Road Special Act 537 study, the site visits were completed, so that continues to move forward. We did update our E-code codification from 21 to 23, which was very helpful for our professionals who've had to work off of our ordinances as opposed to our E-code. The board started discussions on a handful of codes that we will be looking to further discuss in 2025 as far as updating or amendments within the current code. We did adopt a single access road ordinance and Simmons Road restriction ordinance. We had 4 zoning hearings. We had an appointment of Barry Izett and Associates as Code Enforcement Zoning Officer Building Inspector starting in 2025. We only had 1 conditional use hearing. We renewed the planning assistant contract with the county for our county planner. The PC completed the updated connections map for the township. in 2024, and as Phil stated earlier, they've continued their discussion on the Zieglerville Village area discussion. Police emergency services, we did receive two vehicles, an F-150 police utility truck and an interceptor. We had the retirement of Chief Maxey and the appointment of Chief of Police Cass in April. We hired Police Officer Ashley Nark in May. The police remodeling has occurred and is closer to the end than the beginning. We finished the male locker room was completed, the squad room move was completed, and the foyer emergency management area move and PD work area has been started. Police Officer Edward Bacon was appointed as Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator in June, and the police had their annual trunk or treat event. As far as roads, we received a 2023 F-550 vehicle. We completed the 2024 oil and chip project, which was 4.9 miles. Completion of the Zieglerville Road drainage project, which is between 13 and 15 Zieglerville Road. The Springmount Road sidewalk / culvert installation project was started. We did complete base repair for Springmount Road and Main Street. Completed Alexander Drive and Meadow Lane culvert replacements, patch paved Creekside Way and parts of Zieglerville Road. We did have a fog seal applied by AMS, which did our oil and chip at no charge on Audrey and Rose Lanes, as these were cul-de-sacs that were part of the chip sealed roads in 2024. Sewer, the Fulmer Riverside Sewer Extension was completed. Flood barriers were installed at the plant as part of the Hurricane Ida FEMA mitigation. The Delphi pump station generator replacement was finally completed as part of the Hurricane Ida FEMA mitigation. The board did adopt a reserved unused EDU policy that took us several months to complete. Parks, Recreation, Open Space, the board approved Foy Park Playground rehab for 2025. The Barber property, which is 62 acres at 333 Salford Station, the conservation easement was approved and started under the Highlands Conservation Grant. Park and Rec held 3 summer concerts. Park and Rec held their annual Easter egg hunt, annual spring festival, multiple book club events, and annual fall fest. EAC held multiple Birdtown events around the township. The township accepted a trail easement from the Smith Land Preservation along Gerliff Road. Park and Rec, along with Upper Salford, held the Movie on the Mountain. And something new this year was, along with the book club, was the Park and Rec held multiple Perkium and Pacer events along with the railroads, Perkium and Railroad Society and Pennypacker Mill at the Pennypacker Mills Mansion. Community county projects the board adopted the updated cable franchise agreement with Verizon. The old gravel pike bridge repair model was completed by the county. We are still working on the Board of Supervisors' request to the county for access. The Lieben property at 8 Sepp Road, 37 acres. Conservation was approved by the state in October. We expect this to be completed in 2025. The Greater property, which is 11 Smith Road, 48 acres. County Agricultural Conservation was approved in the summer. Lower Frederick Fire Company was awarded a $400,000 grant from the LSA program for the fire truck purchase. This was submitted through the township. And the Smith property conservation easement, which is in Gerloff and South Ryanford Roads, 22 acres, was approved and is held by Natural Lands. As far as subdivisions land development, Melbourne Hill site work was started, final plan approval. Loctite land development was completed, the site stabilization to be reviewed in spring 2025. Farmview site work was started, that had final plan approval. The JEP, Gentera Conditional Use Settlement Agreement, was approved in January. The Arcadia Station subdivision work was continued, it's still not dedicated. Artisan land development, the Landis tract plans were presented to PC in November. This is the area along Centennial and Smith Road. The Yerger Minor subdivision, or the Bohannon lot line adjustment preliminary and final plan was approved. Lechmar land development site work was started, and the Sandbrook subdivision work was completed, and the subdivision is finished. So I thought this would be a nice thing to talk about, some of the other stuff that's happening that's not maybe more on the positive side, or lots happening in the township, and we expect much of the same in the upcoming year. I'd say any question. Oh, one thing I did want to add too, because I know this is important, the Perkiomen Creek stormwater study was started. I know this has long been a project of one of our PC members and residents, and that was started in 2024. Obviously, that we know the implications of what happens on the creek and how that impacts us as a township. So I did want to add that as something else that was finally started in 2024 and will continue 2 years or a couple of years.
Yeah, and that's Crystal Gilchrist who's working very hard on that, so. I have a couple questions. Where is the updated connections map? Is it on our website? Will it be on the website? How?
I'll have to confirm that. I'm not sure. Yeah. If it's
Okay.
not, we'll get it on there.
Okay.
In the past, it was part of our open space plan too, so I don't know whether that, requires us revising that plan and getting it in there. Just, so it's in all the right places, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be, I don't know where it was because I know the PC talked about it being part of the comp plan, but I guess
Maybe I'm confusing it, yeah. I guess we just need to see where it is and decide whether it warrants updating
an
it.
amendment to the whatever plan. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Any other questions or comments from the board on the 2024 year in review? Nope. Thank you, Jason. We were busy.
A little bit.
Okay, that brings us to public comment. I saw Phil first and then Bob.
It's on. This is a comment, Phil Smith, 205 Girl-Off Road. I know we have, gone ahead as a township and purchased several vehicles, and I think a vehicle is a long-term investment, and it's, my opinion that one of the things that we can contribute to the future of the planet as well as our community is that perhaps as we look at purchases such as that, we ought to look at, eco friendlier types of vehicles, perhaps plug-in hybrids or hybrid vehicles, even if they're police equipment. There are police types of vehicles that can be a bit more eco-friendly and sustainable for the future. So that's my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great report there, Jason. All right, I got a couple things for you guys. Let's start off with the hydrant thing. Did you ever get that figured out as to what's going on with that?
I do have, it will be updated for this upcoming tax season.
Okay, so all the new homes that are being built in Arcadia and whoever else is supposed to be on it's going to be on it then?
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, so that was real easy. Bob Preston, I think last we talked, he was going to come in with maybe some design work on Zieglerville and also the I&I work.
So he has been given the author to move forward on the planning for the Zieglerville. The I&I, because he did the presentation, I think he was struggling to get quotes, but that's something I'll be looking to present to the board in the first quarter, because I don't want that to fall by the wayside. And we did budget for that.
I think right now, we're still in a drought yet, so it's the best time to be digging and doing what we need to do if we have to get to that. But obviously, the television part of it is the cheaper portion of it, so if that can, I think you said CoStars was handling that, so.
Yeah, he was working with a couple of contractors, they were co-stars, and I think he was struggling with, that was kind of what stalled it, and I think it was like the end of October, so that's not the time to be, even though we were in the midst of the drought, so.
Right.
Like I said, I was looking at getting that approval or getting that in front of the board back in this first quarter.
And I think a couple of years ago, I had mentioned when we were doing the equipment contractor bid, if maybe we could ask the equipment contractors to do it either like a 2-year or 3-year instead of the 1 year, so we're not constantly doing it each year. I know I talked to Supervisor Sachs to talk to his family, so maybe they might be interested in doing it. I think they do it at other places. The other thing is, I don't think presently, I think Carol might be working on it, but to get the snow removal equipment added to that and whatever other items that might be needed that we would, need to hire out for. It seems like this year we used our old international dump truck to the point where it's not going to move much more. So it would have been nicer to maybe rent a piece of equipment from the rental contractor to do that. So that's all I got for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone on Zoom? All right, that brings us to supervisor comment. Well, I'm just going to say we're starting a new year, and Lower Frederick is still a great place to live. So thank you all for coming to our meetings, and let's move forward and have another productive year. Meeting's adjourned.